We talk about it a lot on Coffee Experts is by dropping your COGS, right? Like how can you just muscle your COGS down, right? Because if I can muscle the cost of goods down, it is like growing money because you've already established a traffic count. So if I can just drop what I'm paying for things, you create this cushion of cash.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Why don't you tell us a little about where you're headed next, Drew? When you're going to help out one of our new coffee clients? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I actually, through Aaron, he knows this gentleman named Jonathan, and franchisee of a company, and they were the company decided that they wanted to buy back the franchises, and so that he was one of the locations that was back. So he decided to move out on his own, and actually, I was talking to him yesterday about he chose this location up in Montana, out of Great Falls, I think is where it is. And he told me he was just driving around, and they stayed there for a couple of days and decided to just move there. They loved it that much, so they settled in. And there's not a lot of coffee like what we do on the West Coast. Over in that area, there's not a lot of espresso machines. I was asking him about the people that he's hired, and some of them don't have any experience on espresso machines, but they have, years of experience working coffee. So it's a little bit different culture, different pace, different style, different drinks.
We're talking about heaven,
Yeah.
Montana. Yes, my favorite. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, he's just out of Great Falls, and he was walking me to a shop yesterday. It's beautiful. So I'll be heading over there Friday morning. I'll be driving over there and meeting Aaron at his, like he called it, heaven, his favorite place, his favorite little getaway. And I'll be over there for about a month, helping him a couple weeks before training and getting everything, orderly and organized and systemized and processes. And then a couple weeks afterwards. So we'll work the grand opening, all the deal days, and then, set up the manager for success, and then, stay in touch and make sure everything's rolling smooth for the next little while.
That's awesome. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, anybody who's watching this, Drew is our sort of man on the ground. We picked up a couple of these big clients every season where Drew just comes out and is like, "Hey, I'll just start your company for you."
Coffee Experts Elite, right? It came out of Masterclass. So if you missed us last month on the Masterclass, we kicked off your first drive-through.coffee, and we did the Masterclass on setting up drive-throughs. And at the very end of that, we said, hey, if you like all this stuff we've been talking about, we actually have somebody that can help you do it. We offered, for them to be part of this Coffee Experts Club, which if you're not part of Coffee Experts Club and you're just streaming this on Collab team page, the YouTube page, or wherever you're seeing this, coffeeexperts.com, coffeeexpertsclub.com. If you go there, you can see more about what we do at Coffee Experts Club. But we offered Coffee Experts Club because we feel like that's a 35 weeks worth of content, right? Like just ability to consume everything you need. But some of you may think to yourself, Aaron, I get it. Yes, I need that, but I really need somebody right now to get here and help me. And that's what Coffee Experts Elite is, which is what Drew's doing with this full outfit in Montana, is going up there, helping them pilot it, helping them launch it, and then be that expert on the ground. That's like, hey, I'm going to be here for a month. Let me just help you with your hiring and your training. Let me help you with setting up your menu. Let me help you with your bar setup and your flow. Let me help you with your grand opening event. And Drew, it's not only that, but we're also bringing up the All-Stars. Is that a thing that's going on with this engagement?
That's a conversation that we've been having. It's about bringing up a solid team that I've worked with for a while. Coffee's coffee. It can be cut and paste, but the people who've been working in it for years can pick things up really quickly. So it's an all-star team. We're in the talks about bringing it up to work right alongside me and the gentleman who's opening the store, make sure everything goes smooth. I mean, you only get one chance to make a good first impression.
That's very true.
So I'm excited. I think it sounds so badass. I'm excited for Drew to get up there. Coffee Republic has a great thing going on. Like they already are guys that know what they're doing. That's the other thing, is this is a group of people that already know what they're doing with coffee, but like this is their first thing, right? They came out of a chain. They're coming out to roll out their own first thing. This is going to be something pretty badass, but just that realization of, yeah, we know what we're doing, but man, it sure sucks to do it alone. I mean, like, could we bring up people that know what they're doing? Like Drew was saying, could we bring up some all-stars where we can do a grand opening, not with just a bunch of new hires, and this is our first impression on the town. And, we try and make that approachable. It's obviously more expensive than just hiring people at the wages of the day. But at the same time, if it's just for a day or two or three to really make sure your impression is good, like isn't it worth it for a day or 2 or 3 just to make sure you're impressed as badass and that they're putting out quality drinks out the window? And so I'm excited about it, Joe. I think it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, especially with how much investment goes into a grand opening, especially if you're looking to do a big grand opening thing with big deals. Like that's a lot of money you're putting out the window just to gain attention and just to tell people that you're there and that you're open. So you really like you want to make sure that you have your A game on. Like and you have somebody like a Drew and an all-star team that like it's like, yeah, we've done 15 of these, 20 of these, 30 of these. We know what we're doing. We can do it, in our sleep. To have that sort of help while you're on your grand opening is, I mean, it just sets you up for success.
I think we even talked about it almost like you would pay for if you buy a new car, you're gonna get insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would suggest you pay for gap insurance even, right? If you're buying a new car, because if you crash that thing before your payments are paid off, you have that gap differential where you're on the hook. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that, but that's an awful experience. You know what I mean? Of like it's it's worth a little bit of insurance, like roll a little bit of insurance and making sure this thing's going to go off and it's not going to be a total shit show when you roll this thing out because you try to cut corners. So I think that going to be good. I'm excited for that. Oh, Ben, what else? What else we got going on? Where did I miss? What I know I kicked off late.
Yeah, we were just mostly, I think, just kind of updating everybody on where we're at, what Drew's doing coming out of the master class, moving on to different clients. He told us how to ship a machine effectively and to not try and do it on your own because they weigh too much.
I love it. Yes, yes. Just showing up those shipments now. Hey, also, I know we haven't, it's okay, Drew. You go grab those pallets out of the boonies. We'll let you do that. We haven't talked about it much publicly, but I do think that the awareness that we are putting together some deals right now for independents, especially those of you who are independent coffee owners that are just hearing things we're talking about and thinking to yourselves, how can I make more money with the energies I'm expending? Right. Like that's always the thing that people are wondering. Like we get the most often, I'd say, Ben, probably the thing that I box you most about, hey, this person's asking this, or hey, this person's asking that, as we talk back and forth on Boxer, is around how can I make more with less, right? Like, how can I use the energies I'm expending right now, right? Because you can always do these big events, but there's a lot of cost in doing big events, right? Like, so how can I make more with what I'm doing in the day to day? And so we talk about like strategic things like happy hours or things that will drive traffic to your stand with current workload and trying to, bump up your afternoon hours or trying just different things we can do. But one of the best ways, and we talk about it a lot on Coffee Experts, is by dropping your COGS, right? Like how can you just muscle your COGS down, right? Because if I can muscle the cost of goods down, it is like growing money because you've already established a traffic count. So if I can just drop what I'm paying for things, you create this cushion of cash. And one of the easiest ways we've talked about on Coffee Experts a lot is creating your own energy drink, creating your own frat mix, creating things that are cutting out the middleman. But a lot of independents, a lot of the indies, like they've got 1 or 2 or 3 shops and they're just not at a place where they can roll out like 30 to 50 grand to go develop their own energy drink, or 50 to 70 grand to develop their own Frappuccino or frat mix. You know what I mean? Like that's not something that's realistic. So what we've been working on for all those who are interested in it is a way to cut out the middleman and to be able to enable you to white label. So we're in the works right now with a partnership where people who are connected with us will be able to white label energy drink, white label frat mix, and take advantage of some of the things that we've created and helped people create and take out the middleman. Red Bull's prices are going up, right? Frat mix, like commodities, are going up. How can we control that by removing name brand off of things, going with a trusted resource that we know is selling, right? Because the worst thing you can do is buy like an off brand that sucks. So how can we get you that works great, but is a lower price point, and then just grow money from your established traffic count? And the cool thing about a white label is call it your own energy drink, call it whatever you want to call it. Like it can be your very thing. And then when you get to a place where you're at 3 to 5 stores and you're like, hey, Aaron, we would like to actually develop our own energy drink. Can you help us with that? Absolutely. We've got DrinkWorks that is our, proprietary company that helps people develop their own energy drink, helps them develop their own frat mix. But until then, let's not just leave the indies out. Let's make sure that we give them an opportunity to white label things. So I'm excited about that because I think that's going to be really cool. Something that's going to be coming up within the next month or so.
Well, that's one of those tools that like the big boys have and can leverage to the fullest extent, but it's really tough. Yeah, like you're saying, if you want to create your own energy drink and you've just got 1 or 2 locations, either you had to have been really smart with your cash at the get go, had maybe a large outside investor But there's so many upfront costs, large upfront costs with doing that. It's really tough to do if you have a couple locations. It's not like your Starbucks where you can just go in and buy a plant that makes only bagels and you throw your wrapper on it. Like that's the kind of thing they can do. It's not the kind of thing that, yeah, the mom and pop can do. By giving this option to the mom and pop can ramp up growth really, really quickly. I'm excited to see somebody take it to the full advantage and take those savings that they would have paid to Red Bull or Big Train, because Big Train is ridiculously expensive too.
Yeah.
Locations, you can take the savings from that and pump it into a new location, two new locations. That's huge advantage for somebody who, maybe they would have to wait a couple more years before they could come up with the capital to open a new location. So I'm excited to see who really takes advantage, because that's a great opportunity to just have out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think especially because like like you were saying, the bigger companies or the franchises, you know what I mean? They have these deals arranged, but it gives them an unfair advantage in some ways of like, okay, so how can we do it in bulk? And so that's what we're trying to do, is trying to help the little guy, trying to help the small guys to have the same advantages. And I would say, like Ben was saying, either squirrel away that money for your next location, or squirrel that money away for creating your own energy drink, your own draft mix, so that you can make it proprietarily your own. That way nobody's in control. But we're also trying to do it in a real cost effective way. The franchises, they'll charge you 30 grand and then a percentage off of everything, moving forward, which sucks. Like nobody wants to give up that much of their money, but the indies are in a really good spot if you can just help them to navigate into that spot of savings. Because then, so like what we're really trying to go with is like, instead of like some crazy number like that, like $1,000 for a membership due and then like $1 over cost, like let's make it really approachable and let's make it really low in comparison to anything comparable, so that it's like a no-brainer. How can we make it a no-brainer? Yes, I'll commit to this much because I see there's an opportunity for me to grow my cash opportunity and, like make some money for myself to open that second location, or to even drop my COGS even further by creating my own energy drink by making an investment. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. I think there's
It's a great competitive edge. I mean, honestly, if I was sitting on a corner with a Dutch Bros and a Starbucks on the other side of the street at me, I'd be really looking at that just for the competitive edge it brings. I mean, you can do so much with that capital. You can eat some of it and just drop the floor out of the retail price of the energy drinks. If you're big trains of your fraps, I mean, if you're sitting across the street from a Dutch Bros and you can drop your retail price point by $2, say Dutch Bros and say goodbye. All those Frappuccino customers are going to come across the street to your shop because you're selling your, 20-ounce blended drinks at 350 instead of $6. Like that's a huge competitive advantage just based on being able to lower your COGS, which I'm hoping somebody really takes advantage of.
I think it's so interesting because most coffee entrepreneurs, I feel like, are bootstrappers. Like they just bootstrapped this thing together. They didn't have a lot of capital coming into it. There's exceptions, like these guys up at Coffee Republic, like they were able to, put away some funds and they're really doing it right. They're really going big. I love what they're doing up there. Badasses up there. But I think that not everybody's in that position. A lot of people are just bootstrapping something like what's the bare minimum I can do just to get my own business started? Maybe they've been slinging coffee for the man. They want to become the man themselves. You know what I mean? And so they bootstrap themselves in. Downside is if you bootstrap yourself in, you're not sitting on, a ton of capital to do them over and over again. And I think that most people that are bootstrappers are like, well, how can I sell more? Because if I sell more, that's how I'm going to make more. But really that's not the only way you grow money. It's not like just growing volume is how you're going to grow it. If you can actually drop your COGS, that's also a way you can grow money. So sometimes like the answer isn't just more cups through your window. Obviously, we're going to always advocate for better car times. We're going to always advocate for your better training, better customer experience. It's going to bring more cars to your window at high times, better visibility, like all those things we talk to people about, choosing your location, your ingress, egress, traffic patterns. Obviously, all those things contribute. But if you can drop your COGS, like that's the easiest thing in the world, right? Because that doesn't require you for a new location. That doesn't require extra hours, doesn't require extra team. All you did was literally were smarter with what you're paying for what you're getting. So I think that it's a cool mode that I think a lot of bootstrappers don't always think through, because they're just like, I just have to use the big boys to get this. I just have to use like the Cisco's or whoever it is to be able to get these things in. And there is another way. There are other ways to do it. So
It's kind of like having a coffee co-op.
it is very much like that. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. And we know for sure those two products sell really well. When we saw them sell thousands of times over through roasters and creating our own products. Like they sell. Customers love them. and they're great selling products. So use them yourself.
You know what comes to mind, Ben? I think it's really important for us to understand where our money's coming from. I mean, to think through how I'm making my money, how I'm like, what times of the year. I think most people do it. I've seen from like month to month, but that's just not always like how much lead time do you have on month to month, and how much are you anticipating the curve coming at you down the road? What you start determining is a spread of when you start holding your numbers against year over year, like you start seeing where your big spikes are consistently, you start recognizing that, month of May, which I think probably most of us know from muscle memory is going to be that, but it also shows you where things start dropping off too historically. And then from there, what we typically will do with folks is working them through, okay, so then based on that, what are our sales goals? What can we expect? If the last 3 years we've seen an average of, you know, like, could we expect 10% more growth this year? And then, like working our way up. And the way we would always do it is how they perform to it. I just think understanding the swells, because like what Ben said, that you can get to that spot where when people are buying certain things and when they're tapering off certain things. It also helps you with controls on inventory control. It helps you with hours control, but all those different pieces. And especially as we come out of August and into September, that you start hitting some flat months, right? Like you start seeing like where we were experiencing some good growth. This May obviously was a big jump, but from here you start hitting some flat spots, and then sometimes October, but it kind of depends on the year. But some of the stores, some of that might be according to traffic pattern. Like, are people going back to school? Are they not going back to school? What they're doing here. But I will say, getting into a rhythm where you understand how your numbers work, so it helps you with inventory control. So it helps you to know when you can do those certain deals, on when you can drop the floor on certain costs of things like a frap, like when you're blended, like all those different pieces. When are you offering different drinks? And I know for us, Ben, like we spent a lot of time conditioning the managers coming into cold season, like make sure people are back into the muscle memory of milk.
Yep.
Because you're steamed, you don't want your steam to turn out like crap. Like make sure that everybody's back into the right rhythms. And then even for your warm seasons, making sure everybody's back in the muscle memory of, hey, we're coming back into blended drinks. We're coming back into, energy drinks at all time high. Do you have any thoughts on that? Just talking through numbers.
Yeah. I mean, first pro tip, going into October, into the fall season, I would advise any owner operator to have an in-house latte art competition with all of their baristas, because it gets them thinking about steaming milk correctly, pouring milk correctly. And, give them the top winner gets $100. You get 18-year-old kids competing for $100. They're all going to want it, and they're all going to start seeing really good milk. So pro tip, we did that every year, and the baristas would love it. The customers would love it because the baristas were trying even harder to make their lattes perfect, and the quality was great. And all it took was, $100, $150 to a winner, and you've got your entire company steamed their milk. So pro tip there, first off, definitely do that every year. But yeah, I would say, I mean, every owner is going to have, like, they're going to feel these numbers in their gut. They're going to know, oh, October's coming up. I know exactly what sales are going to be like. I know what sales are going to be like in December. I know what sales are going to be like in June. Like, they'll have that gut feeling. So I know most owner operators are going to be like, I know this. I don't need that. I don't need a special fancy sheet to track these for me. And I would say, yes, you do, when you do get that random months that throws you for a loop and you go, oh no, my gut's wrong. And all of a sudden you start questioning your gut over and over and over again. It's nice to have these numbers say, yeah, you're wrong that month, but historically every other month is exactly the same, or it always looks like this. So it might've been a weird gut check this time around. Maybe, your shop had to close down for half the month because it had a COVID outbreak and you lost all of your employees. That would give you a gut check real quick. But as long as you have these historical numbers to work off of, you can say, okay, that was just a fluke. I know historically, and that people, especially in the coffee industry, my customers do the same thing every day. I can rely on this historical data that my customers are going to keep doing the same thing every day.
And I think too, it gives you numbers that you can keep your people accountable to, right? Like it's more than just what drinks are going to sell. It's more than just how much volume I'm going to do. It's if we make a ton of money out of this month, I want to give my people some kind of bonus, some kind of thank you. But if I don't have a metric number that I can give them, or if I'm just holding it to last month or even last year, like how can I have this in a way that systematically, no, I know what the numbers are going to be. Like I try not to get too cocky with these sheets, but I feel like I'm pretty good at predicting these. Like these were sheets that I built. Now, obviously these guys kind of didn't always prove my point because they always over exceeded me. But like, I know Wes, the owner of Roasters, was always big on double digit growth. Like, how long can we stay in double digit growth? And I had predicted 13 to 15%. The store outperformed me 18%. Now, not all of them as you go through are going to be that case. I'm like, not every store is a banger. You can see like not every store always performs, but I would set up the whole year in advance. And then I would ratchet them based on how the month closed, because all these numbers are pivoting off of the ones before it. And all of them are holding to the year prior, So like, how are we giving them a growth goal and saying, hey, we want you to stay accountable to these numbers and giving them the ability to do it? I know, Ben, I feel like it took us years before you and I got into the rhythm of calendaring out when we should start selling mugs, tumblers, when we should start selling t-shirts. Like, but you can make up the difference on some of your hard goods, soft goods sales when you know you're going to have a soft month, but calendaring it out like this and giving people growth goals. Then when you roll out a tumbler and you're like, hey, we've got X amount of tumblers coming, we're sending them out to the stores, and then turning it into a competition can actually take a pretty low month and blow some doors off if you do hard goods the right way. But unless you have it calendared out, unless you're thinking about it, if you're just living month to month, like it's going to catch you flat footed. It caught us flat footed for years, where it was just until Ben and I were like, to hell with this. Like, we just need to put this thing down and start putting on our calendar exactly when this stuff is due, exactly when we need to be doing these things. So.
Yeah. And I think to bring it all full circle in 2018, 2017, that's where we would have started going, okay, we're seeing our growth not decline. It's just not as big as before. How can we now start cutting out our costs? Because we can't keep up 37% growth as much as we like. There's a cap on how many cars you can fit parking lot for in, so many hours a day. So that's where we go, okay, how can we now cut out our costs? So our sales might not grow 37% every year, but our COGS keeps us at that growth rate just because we've taken out the floor on how much it costs. And again, it goes back to the energy drink, the frat mix, because at some point you are just with it, the physicality of brick and mortar business, you're going to cap out on how many cars you can fit in a drive-thru in an hour in a day. And if you can start cutting out the costs, then you can keep your revenue growing straight into your pocket.
I think too, I mean, that's a really good point, because Ben, it was also, if you think about it, this was also the time where roasters started developing their own stuff. I mean, so as we saw these stores start to taper now and been in for some years, let's develop our own energy drinks. But I think that realize as you start getting up to this upper cap, how can you use some of this capital by dropping the floor instead of trying to raise your cars, dropping your floor on your COGS and saving money. So I think numbers don't lie, right? And that's what exactly Ben and I would always have to, when owners get anxious about numbers and they're stressed about performance of stores or like car counts or all those different things, numbers don't lie. So let's go back to sales. Let's go back to trends. Let's go back to see how we've been performing the last set of years. And let's ask ourselves, what was the magic in that? And then let's try and duplicate things that are duplicatable or create things that would give us better success in those down months.
Yeah. Capitalizing on all those cars coming in for energy drinks to drop those down to, was 17 cents a can. The drink is just, we opened 2 new locations off of it. It kind of speaks for itself in that sense.
Yeah. I think we can drop it from $1.50 down to 17 cents. Like, there's a lot of savings in that, especially when you're selling mid-volume stores like 1,500 cans or something like that, like 1,500 cups out a window. Like, that's a lot of savings. Anyway, Ben, it was great having a Q&A with you. Great hearing about some of the things Drew's doing. I'm excited about Coffee Republic. I'm excited. I'm hoping that he's going to take us on scene, like as we get closer, and do some video footage from up there at Coffee Republic. Let's talk those guys up. Let's try and get some traffic going that direction. It's cool just to support cool people. So Jonathan Mears and the family up there in Great Falls, we're excited about your success. We're excited about this new thing you're doing. We're excited we can be in the middle of it.
I really want to see how that grand opening goes. I'm so curious about that. If you got Drew at a grand opening, it's going to go so well.
Listen, All-Stars are looking for players, Ben. So if you want us to throw you up, you're going to do out in the parking lot like the good old days. Let's see how we do.
Drew's got some extra years on me. I don't know if I can stand the heat anymore.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your day. Coffee Experts. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.